Hey everyone, I hope you've had a good week this week. My name is Jake and my channel is Jake Trades and Invests, where I talk about the major commodities and indices in the US, and I talk about where the price may be headed. So with all of that said, let's get into our first chart, which is gold. Gold this week looks like it's been consolidating sideways above the 20 EMA. We did have a little bit of a pullback, like I talked about last week, and then a small little rally, and now we're kind of consolidating sideways towards the end of the week. Um, it's possible that gold still may pull back a little bit in the coming week or two. Again, we still have this gap down here towards 2770. But with this sideways consolidation, it's also possible that the price um, may break upwards since the 20 EMA is currently acting as a little bit of dynamic support. So we'll have to wait and see. I would think if price starts breaking below 2900 and holding, we may have a little bit more downside to go. But if we can break back above 2940, 2950, we may be headed back towards the all-time highs. For silver, similar story. Uh, Early in the week, we had a pretty good push back up off of the 50 and 100 EMAs, and now we're kind of just bouncing a little bit sideways on top of the 20 EMA, like gold was doing. Silver, I'm sure, is going to follow gold, so if gold ends up pulling back a little more, it's likely that silver may come back down and retest the $31 level. But we'll see in the coming weeks how silver moves. For platinum, we're still below the support area or now resistance area of the $1,000 range that we have highlighted. We did have a push back up into the moving averages, and it looks like we're kind of selling off. So likely that platinum may pull back down and have kind of a double bounce here. If the other metals are pulling back, platinum could also pull back to this longer term support level where it's bounced numerous times over the last few years before again attempting a higher run. Copper had a pretty strong week. We were consolidating sideways along the 20 EMA and had a really strong day on Wednesday, pushing us back up into our resistance zone where we've started to pull back slightly. Again, it looks like we may have a little more consolidation to do to build the momentum to break above this 480 range. So it's possible that the price may come back down and retest these 20 EMAs, let the 50 EMA catch up. So we may have a little more sideways consolidation in copper before it finally breaks higher out of this resistance zone. Crude oil continued selling off this week. Looks like we broke below our support zone. This could be a false breakdown to get everyone on the selling side. Um, I would expect a small rally up into the moving averages at least. But with the price below the moving averages, I would still say that crude oil is trending lower. Um, and I would want to see the price get back above the moving averages and have the moving averages turning positive before I felt confident that the price was going to start trending up. Natural gas, we had a strong week this week. Couple of very strong days early in the week, and we had a small pullback on Thursday and then another bullish candle on Friday. So it looks like natural gas has got quite a bit of support coming through and a lot of buying coming in with these stronger buying candles over the last few weeks. It's been pretty choppy, but it looks like there's quite a bit of demand coming in for natural gas, and I think price looks good to head higher over the short to medium term. Now for the indices, the S&P 500 pulled back to our support zone like I've been talking about over the last few weeks. Looks like there are some bullish candles coming in towards the end of the week. However, we are below the moving averages, so a small bounce back towards those moving averages is expected. We can't fall in a straight line forever. So I would think there's probably going to be a little bit of bouncing back and forth over the next few weeks to see if any kind of consolidation can happen above this 5,700 level. If the price can hold around 5,700, it might be a good buying opportunity, but it's going to take a couple weeks of consolidation to convince me that the price is going to hold here. If we if we bounce and test the moving averages and then trend lower and break this support zone, then we have a little bit further downside to go. Nasdaq is the same story. I was talking about the price coming back to this $20,000 mark and this support zone and the 200 EMA. We've done all of that, and again, like the S&P, I would think we could see a small bounce back up towards the moving averages in the coming in this coming week. That would be pretty likely, and then we may come back down and test the support zone again, or we could fall through it. It depends on the momentum that we get behind the move. But so far, price is acting how I've been talking about over the last few weeks. As for the Dow, we broke below our support zone, but we're consolidating above the 200 EMA. We haven't had as much selling pressure in the Dow as we've had in the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq, and I think that's due to the Magnificent Seven being the big sellers in those indices. The Dow looks to be consolidating above the 200 EMA, and we may find some support here before trying to head a little bit higher. We'll just have to wait and see. We did fill this gap from earlier in the year, which is one I've been watching and talking about for the last few weeks. So now that that gap's been filled, we'll see if price can hold in this area before building some support and heading higher. In the Russell, we did break below our support zone. All of our moving averages are trending down. Like the other indices, I would expect a small bounce here, at least to retest and return to the moving averages. But right now, the Russell is looking pretty weak. And we'll finish off here with Bitcoin. We did break below our support zone. I'm going to extend this out a little bit. We broke below that support zone, retested the 200 EMA, and had a return move to retest now the resistance zone with a strong selling day on Friday. If the Nasdaq continues to sell off, I would expect Bitcoin to kind of follow along. We haven't quite closed the gap at our $77,000 level yet, so I would look for the coming week or two for price to come on down and at least close this gap at 77,000 before possibly finding a little more support. We did have quite a big buying candle off of our 200 EMA, and another one looks like on Tuesday had a pretty big buying candle. So it could be people are reacting to the 200 EMA and buying in, thinking that's good value. So another retest of the 200 EMA and closing this gap is very likely. But we'll have to wait and see what the price is going to do around those levels. So that's all I have for this week. I appreciate anyone that tuned in. Sorry for my voice. I appreciate anyone that tuned in, and if you find any value from these videos, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe. Leave a comment, let me know what your thoughts are on these markets. I'm always happy to read them. And that's all I have for this week, so I will see you again next week. Thanks again. This has been Jake with Jake Trades and Invests.